Hey, it's kythegoalie, and this episode of Set Out Sessions is a really important episode. It's very close to my heart, and I want to talk to you about why it's important. Every day, 47 kids are diagnosed with pediatric cancer. A lot of these kids have long hospital stays, they're away from their families, and they're not allowed to do things that they want to do. Many people don't know that I have a rare bleeding disorder called hemophilia. I get monthly treatments at home, but I also spend many days at the Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorder Center of Atlanta. Even though the treatments aren't easy, after a few days I know I can get to go home. A lot of those kids there don't get that chance. A lot of these kids don't go home and play their sports or hang out with their family, and a lot of times they're in the hospital for holidays. That's the things that really get to me. And my goal is to raise money for childhood cancer research. Nobody should have to go through cancer, especially not a kid. So sit back and watch this episode and learn a little bit more about what LaCROSSe Out Cancer is about. Let's end childhood cancer. Today's guest is someone that's made a huge impact both in the lacrosse world and helping kids who need it most. She's part of the amazing team behind LaCROSSe Out Cancer, a program that unites players and families to raise money for pediatric cancer research. This cause means a lot to me because I have a bleeding disorder called hemophilia. I spend a lot of time in the Aflac Cancer and Blood Disorder Center of Atlanta getting treatments. And even though it's not easy, I'm lucky. I still get to go home, play lacrosse, and do what I love. But there's kids there that I see that don't get to leave. They don't get to run around or chase their dreams. That's why LaCROSSe Out Cancer means so much to me. It gives us a way to help those kids, the ones still fighting. Welcome to Shout Out Sessions, Miss Bonnie Lattimore. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Kai? Thank you for having me.
All right. Just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your connection to lacrosse.
Sure. So I'm Bonnie Lattimore, the Vice President of Strategic Partnerships for the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. I came to this job after being the Director of Corporate Partnerships and Special Events for the Boston Cannons Major League Lacrosse team. And when I took this job, LaCROSSe Out Cancer did not exist, but the former president of the Boston Cannons, who's now the president of Massachusetts Youth Lacrosse, came to me when I got this job and said, I got 20,000 kids playing lacrosse in the state of Massachusetts. Let's come up with a way to give back. And so kind of like the ice bucket challenge, we thought if we could come up with a challenge where kids can challenge each other, we could really make an impact. And not sure if your guests know the statistics, but cancer is the leading cause of death by disease for kids, but only 4% of the federal funding for cancer research goes to kids' cancer. So there's definite massive gap in funding. And so we felt like there's a story to be told, and the kids in Massachusetts really wanted to get behind it. And so we came up with the LaCROSSe Out Cancer Challenge. Today, 41 kids are diagnosed with cancer every day in the US. So the idea, that number just changed. The NIH did their new statistics last year. It was 47. And so the idea is to do the 41 reps in honor of the 41 kids who are diagnosed each day with cancer. And for Massachusetts, they picked the week leading up to their first game. And this was in 2022, and they were able to raise $32,000. And so we realized, we have something here. If it's going to be, that successful, we should probably open this up to anybody, anywhere who may want to do the challenge however they see fit. And with Atlanta, which your group was with Atlanta last year, they had a whole tournament leading up to the Maryland Notre Dame game, which was so cool. And they raised over $40,000. I mean, it was you as our top fundraiser, and then all the teams that participated. And I don't know if you know this, but this year we're opening it up to girls lacrosse players. So we're pretty confident that we can reach our goal again this year, having girls and boys from the Atlanta area. So yeah, that's how I came across, the LaCROSSe Out Cancer initiative.
What's one of the most inspiring stories you've seen from a player or team that joined the challenge?
So I've been working with this group for, this will be my third year, but the Colgate men's lacrosse team, when I first met with them, they had a player on their team who had never really spoken about this, but he had pediatric cancer. And he hadn't really talked about it. He's a college Division I lacrosse player. He hadn't really talked about it until or he told me until he really was opening up to me about it. And then I said, well, are you willing to share your story? Because your story is so impactful. And he is alive because of research. And something I'm really proud about with the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation is we funded the research that created the protocol that is the cure for the type of cancer that this player had. So his name's Hunter Druin. He had Wilms tumor. It's a type of kidney cancer. And our foundation funded the research that now that protocol is used worldwide. And he was able to share his story. And there's some really cool videos that he did on our YouTube if you ever take a look at it. But I think that was really inspiring because it was, he had it when he was a little kid, and he hadn't really talked about it because he's this macho, college lacrosse player. But being able to share his story, they set their goal to raise $47,000 in honor of the 47 kids back 3 years ago. And they said that they're not going to stop fundraising until they reach that. And they're at, close to $40,000 now. And so I think this year they'll actually hit their goal. And so it's just been really inspirational. They're our top fundraising college team so far, which is really cool. And they accepted the challenge 3 years ago. So they're the first college team that accepted the challenge. And it was just really cool to have him as an ambassador to really share our message. And he had the guys paint their cleats with the gold ribbons, and they've really embraced the challenge. It's been cool to watch.
Amazing. Why do you think lacrosse players are so good rallying around this cause?
I think the idea of kids helping kids, and like you said, you're in that hospital and some of those kids, they don't get to leave, and you look at them and you're like, obviously I have my own challenges with hemophilia, but I get to leave. I get to go home. And a lot of the kids, if they're undergoing treatment, they're extremely immunocompromised and they have to stay in isolation, and it can get lonely. And the kids like yourself look at that and they're like, I want to help these kids. And so I think, and that's how it all started with Massachusetts, with my friend who was the president of, he still is the president of Massachusetts Youth Lacrosse. And they've raised, well over $100,000 since the inception. But he said, I want to do something with kids helping kids. We have so many kids out here that are such wonderful lacrosse players, but I know that they can also do good in the community. And so it's been really cool to watch the kids accept the challenge and challenge their friends and do it in honor of some of their friends. Because in Massachusetts, there was actually a couple kids from this one town who they ended up passing away from cancer, but the kids in their town rallied around these kids while they were battling and just fundraised and got the word out and just made it a huge awareness campaign. And they were their buddies, they were their teammates. And so it was really cool to watch. And like I said, unfortunately, those kids didn't make it, but these kids are rallying around the cause and rallying around to keep those kids' names alive and keep making sure that they know that they're loved and supported and their families are loved and supported. So I definitely think it's kids helping kids is the rallying cry for that.
That's good. For kids or teens watching right now, what's the best way for them to get started in making an impact?
So if you're in Atlanta, you can visit 285 LaCROSSeOutCancer.com. I think you're going to put it on when you push this out, I think you're going to have the link there. That's for the Atlanta challenge, and the top fundraising team, like yourself, like you did last year, the top fundraising team will get to come down on the field during the Army-Michigan game on February 21st to do the check presentation. So that's for the Atlanta kids. You can accept the challenge in whatever way you see fit. We are going to have a tournament before the event, but if you want to do reps before that, however you want to do it, we try to make it very flexible so that you can accept the challenge in whatever way works for you, because what works for your team may not work for Milton, may not work for Decatur or whatever. So we want them to do it the way that works for them. But then if you're outside of Atlanta, it's just lacrosseoutcancer.org is the generic page, and anybody anywhere in the country can accept the challenge at any time.
What's the biggest challenge in growing LaCROSSe Out Cancer and keeping the momentum going each year?
I saw this question when you sent it to me, and I thought that's a great question, because like anything, you see like the ice bucket challenge kind of fizzled out. What I feel like with lacrosse is most teams, they do have to do some sort of community outreach aspect. And a lot of the teams are looking for that awareness game or whatever it may be. And so I feel like I've tried to, create more social media graphics and do more prizes and things like that, which all are okay. But I really do think it's just the messaging that you guys are actually making a difference. And the fact that we now are at 41 kids and the research it's saving lives. And the fact that Hunter, that example I just gave you, he's here because of research. Like before, there was no cure for Wilms tumor. Now there is, and he is here. He's a Division I lacrosse player. So I feel like the way I've thought about keeping the momentum going is to really make it human and share the human stories. So for this year, we actually have a kid that's one of our honorary captains. I'm not sure if you know this, but we had 3 honorary captains last year at the Atlanta game, and 2 of them passed away. So we had 1 kid there. That's the honest truth. It's horrible. It was tragic. And the kid that was there, he's now okay. He's doing well. And when he came, I had to have some of the Notre Dame players come up with masks on because he was so immunocompromised. I couldn't bring him down on the field for a check presentation. I had to have him isolated in a suite with his family by himself. And the Kavanaugh brothers were generous enough to take some time and come in with their masks on to meet Mason as one of our honorary captains. Well, this year at the event, we have a kiddo. He's actually 2 years old, and his dad's cousin is the goalie for Army. And so they're going to be at the game. And so he's going to be one of our honorary captains, and his name is Alden. He just celebrated his birthday, and I just got the release from his father that I'm allowed to talk about this because we obviously have to get all these releases signed for privacy purposes. But so I think just sharing the picture and the name and the story behind these honorary captains is what I think is going to keep the initiative alive and well, because it shows, hey, we're doing this for Alden. We're doing this for Mason. We're doing this for Hunter. And all those kids that you met at the hospital, that's who we're doing it for. So.
Yeah, that's amazing because you talked about how it used to be 47 kids every day and now it's 41. And you're talking about how each day, hopefully through this, we can lower that number and keep on lowering it until we can eventually find something that can, a cure for this like horrible disease that we can help these kids. And I think that's great that all these teams are coming together for this cause. If you can dream big, what do you think this movement looks like in 5 to 10 years?
I want LaCROSSe Out Cancer to raise $1 million. And I think that we can do it with kids like yourself and your West Foresight team and all these other teams that you guys are going to get involved. Like, I think we can do it. And so if we can raise $1 million, I feel like having that much money. So I've told you 4% of federal funding for cancer research goes to kids' cancer. 96 goes to adult cancers. And we can I'd like to have like a LaCROSSe Out Cancer funded grant and have, really be able to identify some research that we can say, hey, we funded this grant all through LaCROSSe Out Cancer. Like, how cool is that? I mean, the other thing I want to say is, like, right now, a lot of kids are being treated with adult therapies because we just haven't gotten the research that's really meant for kids developing bodies. And kids are not just tiny adults. They have their own physiologies, and having the toxic treatment that's really meant for a full grown adult can have really, really bad side effects. 2 out of every 3 kids that end up surviving, they have lifelong effects. And so I think if we can raise $1 million and fund some really progressive research, we can talk about that to our LaCROSSe Out Cancer community and share, just like I shared about the Wilms tumor with Hunter, like, hey, we found a cure for Wilms tumor. Like, now we're through lacrosse, we're finding a cure for whatever the next cure is going to be. And how cool would that be? Because then we'll have living, breathing examples of what we've done, all through LaCROSSe Out Cancer. Like, that'd be so cool. That'd be my dream.
Yeah. You're also on the board of directors for 285 Lacrosse, which is awesome. What's their mission?
Their mission is to grow the game of lacrosse in the city of Atlanta and Georgia. And they also aim to raise funds for their charity partners. And so their charity partners are the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation, Save a Warrior, and Shoot Out for Soldiers. And they also, like I said, are really focused on growing the game in the Georgia and Atlanta area. And as you probably know, there's no Division I lacrosse in Atlanta for you guys to go see. Hopefully one day, one of these teams will get it. But I know like Mercer is pretty much the closest. So we had them play last year. But they're trying to bring big time Division I lacrosse to you so that kids like yourself get to see this firsthand. And then you can dream and say, wait, I can be on that field one day. And so while they do that and grow the game, they're also giving back to their charity partners.
The events you help bring to Atlanta are amazing. I was there for the Notre Dame in Maryland, and it was electric. What can fans expect from this year's Army-Michigan matchup?
I think it's going to be electric also. So Army is a perennial powerhouse, as you probably know. In Michigan, they're a newer team, but I think they've been around, let me see. So it's been about, 10, I think it's almost 15 years now, maybe 14 years. But so they're fairly new, but it's still the thing with Michigan though, is they have the largest alumni base, I think in the world or something. And so in Atlanta, even last year, I was walking down around the stadium and there were people with Block M's on their shirts saying "Go Blue" to each other. And Michigan wasn't even playing in that event. That just shows you how many Michigan alum are in the city of Atlanta. And also, there's kids from the Atlanta area on both teams. So I think that that's like a really cool thing that you guys, as kids from Atlanta, again, you can come to the game and say, "This is so cool. I could play Division I lacrosse and maybe potentially play in my city," because if it weren't for the Atlanta Lacrosse Invitational, that wouldn't happen, unfortunately, right now. Maybe one day Division I lacrosse will expand. But
And this year you're adding women's lacrosse too, with Boston College versus Michigan and Florida State versus Army. What does this mean to you to help grow the game of women's lacrosse?
so I am so excited to say last year we had such a fantastic event that this year we had teams reaching out to us to come play. So Boston College, the coach saw what we did and she said, "I want to play in that." And so this event was so awesome that we have coaches wanting to come. And I think that girls lacrosse is booming, especially in the city of Atlanta. So my hope is a ton of little girls will want to come to the game. They'll want to play in the tournament before. They will accept the LaCROSSe Out Cancer Challenge, and we will have a packed house at that stadium. And you probably know this, but Boston College, also a perennial powerhouse, has won tons of national championships. Michigan, amazing program. Army, amazing program. And then Florida State, how cool is this that they're a brand new program and they're going to come play in our event in their first year ever? Like, that is so cool. And so I think, even for you, you're a boy, but I think that you'll think that is a really cool game to go check out because of the talent level.
If you could have any lacrosse player, men or women's, to rep LaCROSSe Out Cancer, who would it be?
I think I would say Charlotte North. She, is such an advocate for so many causes, but she did do a video for us a couple years ago. This girl passed away from Saratoga Springs, and their high school was doing the LaCROSSe Out Cancer Challenge in honor of this girl who had just passed away from cancer. And Charlotte did a Instagram reel just supporting these girls who had accepted the LaCROSSe Out Cancer challenge in honor of Liv. And it was so powerful. It got so many views. It really helped promote the initiative, but it also pumped the girls up to know that what they were doing was really making a difference. So I think, with Boston College playing in the Atlanta Lacrosse Invitational, if Charlotte would be willing to wear our shirt and encourage all the little girls and boys in Atlanta to come out to that event, I think that would be who I would pick.
What's your favorite lacrosse memory ever, from college to pro or even youth?
So I think I'm going to have to say when I was doing one of the VIP experiences that we do with some of the cancer patients. We had this little boy, Gavin, and he was having his VIP experience. He was battling leukemia. And he got to come to the PLL All-Star or the end of year awards, the PLL awards, and he got to walk down the red carpet and, take his picture with some of the pros, and him and his sisters and dad and his whole family and friends were there. And then he got to announce the winner of the, community service award. And then the next day he got to come down on the field and do the check presentation. And he was like, I'm getting emotional because I think I shared with you, he did pass away, which kills me. But I just feel so happy that he got to experience this. And I have videos of him taking his shirt off and whipping it around his head like a helicopter with all his buddies in the suite. And we just gave him the time of his life. He got to ride into the Gillette Stadium on a limo, and he was just such a super fan. Paul Rabel had sent him a autographed Lizards jersey when he played for the New York Blizzard. So he had that. He was a real super fan. And so for us to be able to provide this VIP experience of him walking down the red carpet, announcing one of the PLL awards, coming down on the field and getting a sweet experience with all his buddies that got to ride in the limo with him. And it was just so awesome. And he battled so hard and he relapsed. And he did pass away a couple of months ago. And it was very emotional for me, but it just reiterated why we are doing what we're doing, because I want to go out of business. I don't ever want to have to do this again. I don't have to talk about this. I have his picture, on my wall in my head, just knowing that he is one of the reasons why I work so hard. And so that's why I'm, wanting to speak on your podcast, and hopefully, you and all your buddies will accept the challenge and help us raise more money so we don't have to lose kids like Gavin. And, but that, when I think of my favorite moment, it was probably the PLL awards. It was a whole weekend. They did the PLL awards, and then the quarterfinals were the next day at Gillette. And it was just such a special day. And I know his mom told me that was one of the best days of his life. So, yeah, that'll be it.
What's one word that describes lacrosse for you?
Community, for sure. Community. And I feel like lacrosse just brings people together. It's a tight-knit community. I mean, it's the fastest growing sport at the youth level, but the family is small. If you know somebody in lacrosse, they know somebody and they know somebody. And usually if you need to get to there, talk about 6 degrees of separation. You can, if you're in the lacrosse community, someone who will know somebody if you need it, and I think that, it's just proven itself time and again that if you're in the lacrosse community, it's a family. And so I think I would definitely say family and community.
Bonnie, thank you so much for joining me today. You're helping kids during the game and showing what lacrosse community is all about. Heart, teamwork, and hope. To everyone watching, I hope you can get involved too. Go check out LaCROSSe Out Cancer, do your 41 reps, donate, and start a team fundraiser. Every dollar helps kids who need it most. And don't miss this year's 285 Lacrosse Showcase in Atlanta. It's going to be epic. Army, Michigan on the men's side, and Boston College versus Michigan, plus Florida State and Army for women's games. Get your tickets, bring your friends, and be a part of something big. I'm kythegoalie. This is Shutout Sessions. And remember, play with heart, and we're unstoppable. This is kythegoalie out.